Welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to jump into this with you. Today, we're taking a super fascinating journey across the Philippines and our neighboring countries to explore their vibrant creative pulse. Our focus? The contemporary and emerging music and arts of Southeast Asia. Now that's a mouthful, so let's break it down. Contemporary just means art that's being made right now today, in our own time. And emerging? Well, that refers to fresh, new styles that are just starting to take root and really blow up across our region. We're going to look at the newest, most dynamic creative works and uncover how different cultures have profoundly shaped them.
Here's our roadmap for today's masterclass. First, the toolkit. Then, a performing arts tour, followed by a visual arts gallery. And finally, a try-it-yourself challenge. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The Toolkit. Frameworks for Evaluating Art.
Okay, let's dive into this. Before we can truly appreciate or analyze any art from Southeast Asia, we really need the right tools. Basically, everything we're going to study today falls into one of two big branches of art. Think of these two branches like a giant mental filing cabinet. On one side, we have performing arts. These are the art forms that happen live in real time, right in front of an audience. Music, theater, and dance. On the flip side, we have visual arts. These are the art forms we can clearly see and a lot of times physically touch. This includes stuff like comics, architecture, weaving, and even film and animation. As we go through this explainer, I want you to constantly ask yourself, which branch does this belong to?
Now listen up, because this might just be the absolute most important part of our entire lesson today. Whenever we look at a creative work, we aren't just going to say, oh, I like it, or I don't like it. No way, we need evidence. To critique an artwork fairly, we use these 7 lenses. Think of them as 7 different pairs of glasses you put on to see an artwork clearly. First up, subject, who or what is actually shown. Theme, what's the big idea? Concept, what message is the artist trying to communicate? Medium, what material is used, like paint, stone, or even sound? Process, how is it made step by step? Technique, what special skill was used? And finally, practice, what cultural tradition does this work follow? Keep these 7 lenses handy, because they are literally your master toolkit for evaluating any kind of art.
Moving on to Section 2, our performing arts tour covering music, theater, and dance.
Equipped with our brand new lenses, it's time to hit the road. Let's talk about popular music, which beautifully blends vocal singing with instrumental sound. Now, what's really fascinating here is how it highlights cultural blending. Take P-pop, or Filipino pop, for example. A lot of P-pop groups blend this highly produced K-pop style sound with distinctively Filipino language and themes. I want you to really think about that for a second. If a song sounds partly Korean influenced, but speaks directly to Filipino experiences, what does that actually tell us? Well, it tells us that cultures are definitely not isolated. Artists borrow, adapt, and blend styles from globally popular cultures, while proudly keeping their unique local identities front and center.
Moving from music over to theater, we see that Asian theater traditions are just the ultimate mashup. They blend movement, music, storytelling, and costumes all on one single stage, and this brilliantly illustrates our practice lens. Think about wayang kulit, that breathtaking shadow puppet theater from Indonesia where flat leather puppets cast these intricate shadows to tell epic tales. Or consider the Philippines' own traditions like the sinaculo. Despite being from entirely different countries, these traditions share some huge core elements. They both use highly stylized, exaggerated gestures, they feature symbolic costumes that instantly tell you exactly who a character is, and most importantly, they blend music and movement to teach really powerful moral lessons and preserve cultural history. It's like a giant puzzle coming together.
So let's talk about movement. Southeast Asian dance styles tell deep, rich cultural stories, and to analyze them, we use a fantastic tool called Laban's Movement Framework. It looks at 3 main things: direction, speed, and weight. Actually, let's try this right now. Yes, seriously, wherever you are sitting, I want you to actively participate. Go ahead and raise one arm. Now, move it in a new direction, maybe forward or sideways. Next, let's change the speed. Move it incredibly fast and then super slow. Finally, let's change the weight. Push your arm out with a ton of strength like you're moving a heavy boulder, and then move it lightly like you're just brushing away a feather. By physically feeling these changes in direction, speed, and weight, you can immediately understand how dancers use their bodies to convey raw emotion and deep cultural narratives.
Let's move to Section 3 and see how this builds in our visual arts gallery beyond painting.
We've explored the live, real-time world of performance, so now it's time to open up the other side of our filing cabinet and step into our virtual visual arts gallery. When a lot of people hear visual art, they just instantly think of paintings, but it is so much broader than that. Let's look at comics, Comics are a brilliant form of sequential art, using a series of images in a very specific order to tell a story. Right here in the Philippines, we have an incredible tradition of local comics. Think of wildly popular contemporary works like Treze. This is visual art bringing local mythology right into the modern era through sequential storytelling. It's a real game changer.
Next up in our gallery is weaving. This is a highly tactile visual art, relying on intricate textile patterns and craft techniques that are lovingly passed down through generations. When you apply your medium and technique lenses here, you suddenly realize that familiar everyday items, like a hand-woven banig you might sit on, or a woven abaca bag from your province, are actually profound pieces of visual art. They carry the very DNA of a region's cultural heritage.
We also have film and animation. These are incredibly dynamic visual mediums. Whether it's a deep historical documentary or a cutting-edge animated short, film captures moving images and pairs them with super compelling narratives. Honestly, it's one of the absolute most powerful ways to broadcast the contemporary spirit of Southeast Asian stories directly onto the big screen.
Finally, we arrive at architecture. The buildings and structures we live, work, and worship in are monumental forms of visual art. Let's see how drastically different cultural traditions actually physically shape the environments all around us.
Let's put our lenses to work on these famous structures. First, take a look at Angkor Wat in Cambodia. The medium here is massive stone, which directly reflects deeply rooted Khmer Hindu-Buddhist traditions. Now, contrast that with Fort Santiago in the Philippines, a heavy stone fortress that directly reflects Spanish colonial history and military design. Then, jump over to Malaysia to see the Petronas Towers, an absolute masterpiece of modern steel and glass design that brilliantly incorporates Islamic geometric patterns. And finally, Indonesia's Pura Uluwatu Danubratan, a stunning Balinese Hindu water temple built specifically to honor water spirits. Same geographic region, but completely different mediums, concepts, and traditions.
And that brings us to Section 4. Try yourself, applying the lenses.
So the crucial point is, acquiring all this knowledge is really only half the battle. Now you need to actually use it. I have a challenge for you today. I want you to grab a smartphone or a tablet and document the contemporary arts right in your very own school or community. You have two options for this. You can shoot a 2-minute mini vlog tour of a significant creative location, maybe a local mural or the school stage. Or if you prefer, you can create a photo essay. Just snap photos of performing or visual arts around you and write captions using our 7-lens toolkit to explain the cultural influences you see. Be an active investigator of your own environment.
Now, if you want an even more hands-on, tactile challenge, try this soap carving activity at home. We're going to carve a sculpture inspired by Singapore's famous merlion. Here's the process. First, draw your outline lightly on a bar of soap with a pencil. Second, carefully remove small slivers of soap from the outside. You got to go slowly here, because you obviously can't put the soap back once it's cut. Third, add your inner details. And fourth, wet your finger and just smooth out the surface. Remember, always work safely and cut away from your body as you engage with this physical medium.
We have covered so much ground today, from the 7 lenses of our brand new toolkit to the beats of P-pop, all the way to the monumental stones of Angkor Wat. But before we finish up, I want to leave you with a final, provocative thought to ponder. As you navigate the world, equipped with your new ability to truly see and evaluate art, I ask you, how will you actively show appreciation for Filipino art and your own cultural identity within this vibrant, beautiful Southeast Asian tapestry? Think about it. Keep analyzing, keep creating, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.